Hey, Shawn.
Hey there.
Uh, glad we glad we got you on here. Like I was saying a little while ago on the phone, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to join me on this. And it's like I was saying, it's just a chance to give further exposure to new music and to focus on bass players who so often seem to get
Oh
ignored.
yeah, absolutely. It happens from time to time, so I'm
It does.
happy to come on here and chat with you and talk about bass and everything. So thanks for
Sounds,
having me.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. So the first question, I guess, is Shawn, how long have you been playing bass?
Well, I started I think I started right around 2008, so it's been about 15 years for me now.
Okay. Um, did you take lessons, or are you pretty much self-taught? How did all
M
that go?
Mostly I'm self-taught. I took lessons for maybe about like 4 or 5 months early on. But most of what I've been doing has been self-taught. And even when I was doing the bass lessons, like he was mostly teaching me scales and stuff, and I was teaching myself songs. So but
Got you.
I've been into music since I was really young. I used to my grandmother had like a little electronic keyboard, and so I used to like mess around with that and like figure out songs
One
after
of those little
listening to stuff.
Casio deals,
Yes,
or
yeah, it was
yeah.
Casio. It was a little Casio, yeah.
So, I guess along those lines, do you play any other instruments besides bass and maybe a little keyboards?
Well, yeah, little bit of keyboards, play around with that. I do some drum programming and stuff. I played a tiny bit of drums, but not a ton, just to fill in here and there for church at one point, but nothing nothing too crazy. But it's mostly bass. I did play trombone for 6 years in middle school and high school, but it's been quite some time since I touched one. So,
Yeah, my wife played saxophone in high school, actually. Um,
oh, that's nice.
so tell me about your current gear and your setup, and do you have a favorite piece of gear?
Sure, sure, sure. So, my main setup right now is I play my Warwick Dolphin Pro bass. It's right over here. Um, oh, so here's my primary bass here.
Oh, nice.
Um, and then I play it through a Doug Pinnick signature pedal. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Doug Pinnick from King's X, but that's the main piece of gear I use to play through. So when we've been playing Echostone stuff live, or I've been playing anything else live, I've been using that pedal and then running pretty much DI out of that. It gives some distortion. Basically, I really enjoyed his bass playing. I always loved that like really growly tone, which
Mm-hmm.
I think some players who play with a pick kind of get a little bit more naturally. But since I'm a fingerstyle bassist, I was really always looking for that kind of tone. And ever since I've had that pedal, it's like that was the one piece I've been looking for all those years. So I'm loving my current setup.
Okay. Well, continuing on here, who would you say are some of your greatest musical influences?
Um, so I've got quite a few. I'm a little all over the place. I think my favorite band of all time still currently is probably Dream Theater.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pretty big, prog rock guy, so I really enjoy stuff like that. Um, but my influences are all over the place from that to, Red Hot Chili Peppers, They Might Be Giants, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of just all over the spectrum.
Absolutely love Dream Theater myself. I'm a huge John Young fan. He
Oh
is
yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah, he's a
um,
very stellar bass player.
Absolutely. So, continuing on along those lines, who would you say are some of your favorite bassists?
Well, I mean, I mentioned Doug Pinnick before from King's X.
Hmm.
He's always kind of had that tone I've chased. Brian Beller is another one. I'm not sure if you're
Okay.
familiar with him.
No, I
He's
can't say that.
he's
am.
played with a three-piece kind of jazz fusion group called the Aristocrats. But I mean, he's played with a ton of other artists and bands throughout the years. I think he played on a couple of James LaBrie's solo albums as well. So he's been all over the place, and I love his tone and his style of playing. As far as somewhat newer people, Thundercat is like kind of getting big at this point. He's a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic
Yes,
bass player.
he
So
is. Yes, he is. Love Thundercat. And what would you say is something that you are currently listening to?
currently listening to, I bounce around from things. There's a pop punk band called Billy Talent that I've been listening to a good bit lately. There's a like more jam bandy, funky kind of band called Dopapod that I really enjoy listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as prog rock stuff goes, I don't know if you've ever listened to Haken, but I've really been listening to a lot of them lately too. Um, looking forward to hearing whatever Dream Theater puts out next
Oh,
because Mike Portnoy just
now that
rejoined.
Portnoy's back,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah. It's you know, I felt a little bad for Mike Mangini, but I'm
mhm.
excited to see what they do with Portnoy back in the fold.
Oh, same.
Yeah. So, away from music,
Sure.
what are some of your hobbies and interests?
Uh, I have quite a few. I'm the type of person who will often pick up new hobbies and then get distracted by something else
Yeah.
and move on to that. So there was a while that I was really into like BMX for a little while and like really trying to get into that, and then kind of fell off of that. Did some 3D printing for a little while, but haven't touched it in a while. The hobby that's probably stuck with me the most is probably model building. So if you see behind me here, all of these in this shelf here are all like model kits that I've put together over
Oh,
time.
that
So
is really cool.
that's probably one of my favorite hobbies, just because I like, it's a little meticulous, but I like sitting there and like seeing how everything comes together. Just the process. It's very relaxing for me. So that's kind of how
Very
I'll unwind a
deep,
lot of times.
very detail oriented.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess now getting on to the subject of your of the bands that you're in. I know that
sure.
you're in two.
I am.
You're obviously in Echostone
Yep,
and as the bass player, and you're also the lead vocalist and bass player for Weakdays.
that's correct.
Uh, let's start with Echostone.
Sure.
Tell me about the band. How long have you guys been together, and how did the band form?
I think we've been going together for about a year and a half now. So it started with Wes, the lead singer, and Will, the lead guitar player. The two of them met each other when Will wanted to record some demos for songs that he had been writing. But he didn't have any kind of vocals or anything for it. He just had the guitar parts and everything, and he was also a drummer, so he had some drum ideas in mind. And Wes was like, I actually really like this stuff, and this is kind of in my style. It's in my range. So here's some ideas I had, and the two of them started writing together. And then um, after that, they brought in Bill, the drummer, and I've known Bill for years and years, ever since I was in my first band, Sacred Conflict, which was like way back. Like we haven't. It's been over 10 years since that band's been together, but we we went up and played a show at a place called the Luna Bean in Wilson, North Carolina, and with a band that he was in at the time called Against Their Will. And so I've known him for years, and he was like, "Hey, I've been playing with these guys, and we don't have a bass player right now. I was wondering if you'd be interested." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd definitely be willing to come check it out." And I went and had my first practice with him and really enjoyed it. And then it clicked, and now we've been going and playing shows and putting out songs and everything. So it's been a journey.
Well, I've got to say, I've been following you guys for about a year, and each single you guys put out, it just seems like things are just getting better and
Oh,
better. And I feel
thank
like
you.
you were saying big things are coming in 2024, and
Mhm.
we're all definitely excited to see where 2024 brings you guys, because I feel like you're on the brink of some really amazing stuff.
It really does feel that way. I mean, I'm really happy and proud of all the songs we've put out so far, the shows we've been able to play, some of the bands we've been able to open up for. We got to open up for Tantric, we got to open up for Filter, we got to open up for
Right on.
for Trapped a couple times. So we've a lot of bands that I used to listen to, in high school, we've actually gotten to share a stage with now. So that's pretty cool, and I feel like that's going to continue in 24. We're going to keep trying to push to, play with a lot of the artists that we've always admired that are kind of in that genre that we play in. And keep pushing out great songs, try to put out as much material as we can.
Yeah. Uh, my wife just brought to my attention a comment from M Murphy 159 in the chat, saying Gundams are your big hobby. Look at
Yeah,
that collection.
yeah, those Gundam models. Yeah, that's my fiance in the chat. So she's
Okay.
she's saying hey and talking about it, and that that light up a neon Gundam sign behind me. She got
Oh,
me that
nice.
for Christmas one year. So
Oh, that's great. That is just super.
she's always been a
So,
big support of everything I do. So
well, you know, that's a blessing, man. Um, So now tell me about Weakdays. I know you're the lead vocalist and bass player. I've done a little bit of uh, going down that rabbit hole some this week in preparation for this, and it seems to have a really nice bluesy sound. I love your voice, by the way.
oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. We've been doing that for I actually started playing with those guys a little bit before I even joined Echostone, but it just took us some time to get to the point where we were ready to get out and play shows. We were kind of jamming the material out and writing it gradually. And of course I had Echostone going on at the same time, so balancing the two and everything. Took a little while to get going. But we've got 3 songs out now. And we're working on a few more currently and getting them put out. We have one that's ready to be put out. I just got to figure out what kind of promotional material I want to put together for it before I put it out. And all of those songs were recorded by Wes, the lead singer of Echostone. So he's done all of our like studio production stuff because he does it all with Echostone too.
Nice, nice. Um, a, Another friend of ours in chat made the comment that Filter takes him back. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That it definitely will. But they were great to play for and still put on a great show. I thought, and all the bands we've played with so far have done great.
So between the two bands, you're obviously a pretty busy guy. Are either of the bands a full-time thing for you, or do you have a day job?
I do have a day job. Not that those are a full time thing yet. I mean, I could see Echostone getting there. We're definitely continuing to get busier. Um, you know, so I could see that happening right now. My day job is I work for an internet company in a retail store. So mostly what I do is like sales and like customer service kind of work.
Oh, nice, nice. So, um, what would you say is the most interesting experience that you've had so far playing live?
Hmm. I mean, uh, that all just depends on how you characterize interesting. Because as far as like some of the most exciting experiences I've had playing live, a lot of it has been with Echostone because we've gotten to play for some of these really cool crowds
Right.
and really cool bands. We played a show in Greensboro. We opened for a band called Red, and that was a really awesome show. So that was like one of the best ones we've had yet. Um,
Big fan of Red. They're kind of an alternative Christian band.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and they put on an absolutely killer show. Like they killed it. So
that's
might be my favorite out of the bands we've played with so far.
that's cool. That's cool. And do you have like a funny road story that you'd like to share?
Hmm.
if you don't, that's fine. I
Yeah,
was,
no,
just
I'm just trying
looking
to
for.
think. Um, yeah, nothing really comes to mind. The thing about Echostone is, almost anything we've done, we've all rode separately. I mean, I've rode up with Wes a couple times, um, and we've like, hung out in the car. Sometimes we'll have some fun times swinging by Buc-ee's when we're on the road. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, but
nothing
Bucky's
really
is
comes to
always
mind.
Bucky's is always good for a few laughs.
Oh yeah, yeah. You always have a good time in Buc-ee's, but you can't ever walk out of there with just like one thing.
No,
So
no, you have to take out a second mortgage when you go to Bucky's.
yeah, it's worth it though.
um, I'm going to go ahead and throw in a couple of additional questions here that were actually. I ended up having a fairly lengthy chat with an Echostone fan
Okay,
earlier today. Her name is Jo, and she just had a few questions that seemed to fit right about this point
sure.
of our chat. And she wants to know if you have done lead vocals in any other bands besides Weakdays.
So I have. So the very first band I was in was a three-piece, and I was the bassist and lead vocalist for it. It was a band called Sacred Conflict. We don't have anything out on any digital platforms. We recorded some music. I probably should put it out there eventually, but back in the day we were, putting out CDs and everything. That was that was our main way of distributing all our music and everything.
Right.
And then I also played bass and did like partial lead vocals in a band called 10 Car Pileup, which was a band I was in with some guys I was in college with. But
Hmm.
that was an interesting band because pretty much all four of us in the band traded off doing lead vocals on different songs, so depending on the song.
I like that. I like that band name, 10 Car Pileup.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, that
pretty cool.
that was a fun song. And hey Joe, hey Miranda, hey Tatiana, I saw you in there. Somebody's in there from the Echo Stone page. I'm assuming it's probably Will. So hey Will, hey
Hey, Will.
everybody.
Um, okay, another question from Joe. What would you say is your favorite song by Echostone to play live?
Um, for a little while, it's been before I fall, and that's probably still my favorite to play live, just because it's such a good opener. It comes in with so much energy,
Hmm.
and just like it gets the crowd pumped, but it also gets me pumped. It builds up the adrenaline. I'm ready to move around on stage, and I got some fun bass slides and stuff I get to do in there. So that song always gets me pumped. I enjoy playing all of them, but that's probably my favorite to play.
Okay. And final one from Joe. Do you ever plan on doing any kind of a live stream on Twitch where you just noodle around on the bass? She was just wondering
Um,
about that.
I might. I actually used to do streams like that, so I have done some Twitch streaming in the past. Um, and so I've done streams where on my like own personal Twitch page where I would play bass, and I've done some where I was basically doing karaoke where I would just sing covers to backing tracks and stuff that people would request and stuff like that. So I've done a little bit of that in the past, and I'd certainly be open to doing it again. I've been pretty busy lately with everything going on,
Oh,
especially
I'm
with the
sure.
the wedding coming up and everything. But uh, definitely do plan on getting back to that eventually. It'd be fun.
Yeah, congratulations on the upcoming wedding. That
Oh, thank
is
you.
just awesome.
I'm really
So,
excited about it.
okay. Well, continuing on here, what's your hometown, Shawn?
So originally I'm from Florida, about
Okay.
between Daytona Beach and Orlando, a smaller town called DeBary.
Okay.
And then I went to high school in Deltona, so it's a really really small area. Um, but that's where I grew up and lived most of my life. And then around 2007, end of 2007, I moved up here to South Carolina, in the kind of Columbia area, and I've been here ever since.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And what would you say is your favorite thing about where you're living now?
Um, well, I do actually really enjoy the local music scene around here.
Hmm.
Um, there's a bar we have in Columbia called Art Bar. We actually actually played there with Echostone recently, but I've also played the first two shows we've played with Weakdays. We played there as well. It's a band that it's a bar that I used to play a lot in some of my older bands that I was in. But it's just a really fun kind of alternative vibe in there, a little bit of like a nerdy kind of bar, but the
Mm-hmm.
crowd there is awesome. And they really support local music, and we've got a lot of cool, interesting bands in the area. So that's probably one of my favorite things about living around here.
That's great. Um, so, if you could give any advice to your younger self, if you could go back and basically talk to your younger self now, what advice would you have for that person?
Mm, I mean, it might sound a little cheesy or basic, but I guess just be ready for some difficulty in life, but just keep picking yourself back up. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your passions, and just keep pushing forward no matter what.
Okay. Um, and do you have any suggestions for any other up and coming bands to check out, or potentially for me to reach out to for a possible upcoming bass player interview?
Sure. So, I was talking a little bit before about the music scene in the local area around the Columbia area where I live.
Hmm.
Um, and there's another band we Weekdays played a show with, and they're called Harry and the Hootenannies,
Okay.
and their bass player is absolutely fantastic. I've been a fan of them around here for a few years now, but I think they'd be great to reach out to. And Ben, their bass player, would be a good guy to talk to.
Absolutely. And one final thing, since like I said, I'm trying to make this into a semi-regular series. Is there a question that you would like me to ask the next person interviewed?
Hmm.
I've seen that type of thing done in other interview formats, and it just makes for kind of a fun thing because you're basically kind of reaching out to the next person. So.
Sure, sure. And I'll try to think of something that's not something you've already asked. Um, I guess uh, one thing that's always interesting to me is, especially when it comes to bass, do they tend to play primarily fingerstyle or with a pick, and why do they prefer that technique?
That's a real good question. It's kind of funny. I took up bass, I guess, about 4 years ago now, and I played guitar off and on, really more off than on,
Right.
the majority of my life. So I was used to a pick, and
Hmm.
I've been trying to figure out fingerstyle, but it's been a bit of a struggle because I'm just so used to having the
Right.
pick. It's hard to break that habit.
It's a it's
But
a diff it's a different animal, and I have the opposite problem because I never did really play guitar.
mhm.
I had a guitar, and I thought I was going to start playing it, and that just never took off. But then I wound up falling in love with the bass, and just started that from the beginning playing fingerstyle. So if anybody's like, "Hey, can you play with a pick for this?" It's like, well, that's not really my thing.
Right,
So because I'm so
right.
used to fingerstyle. There's actually even been a couple times. There was one time we were playing a show with Echostone, and somebody was in the front of the crowd, and they were like reaching out, and they were like trying to motion for me to like throw them out a pick, and I was like, I don't play with one. Sorry.
So, do you have any preference yourself between a four string or a five string bass?
So I've been wanting to play a little bit more around with five string. I haven't had too much experience with it, but I'm primarily a four string guy.
Hmm.
That's just kind of what I've been playing for the longest time. Um, but I do also have I played a little round with fretless, and then I also have
Hmm.
I'd love to get a chance to use it in either of my bands I haven't gotten to yet, but I have this Dean 12 string bass right here, and I would love to bust this thing out at some point, but
Oh my
it's
gosh!
it's pretty wild.
Wow,
So
that is
that's
neat.
that's another thing that was inspired by Doug Pinnick from King's X, because I heard him playing 8-string bass and 12-string bass on a few of their songs. So, it was definitely something I wanted to experiment with, and something I'd definitely like to mess around with more in the future. It definitely has a very full sound, kind of like, a 12-string guitar, except instead of being, six sets of two like a 12-string guitar is, it's like 4 sets of 3. So it's got 2 octave higher drone strings that really just give it a thick kind of tone to it.
That is really neat. I've never laid eyes on a 12-string bass until just now. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's really
cool. It's not
cool.
super common.
No.
So.
No. Joe actually has an additional question in the chat, and that is, how do you what do you do to balance work, the band, and your relationship?
I mean, it hasn't been too bad to do that. I mean, it does keep me pretty busy. But I think the best thing for me, and the thing that helps me the most, is probably just managing the downtime that I have in a way where, if when I do have my downtime by myself, that I'm not, wasting it just kind of doing something mindless, that whatever I'm doing, I'm getting actual enjoyment out of it, and something that's recharging me, so I have the energy to then go out and, invest in my relationship, do the best I can at work, and, give my all to the music as well.
Absolutely. It's a lot to juggle, but, like I said, just finding balance in everything is really just the way to succeed in life. So,
yeah.
Well, I guess, that's all of the questions I had for you. Do you want to, I know that you're on Instagram as,
Sure.
Hot Potato Man, and out of curiosity, where did the Hot Potato Man title come from?
It was just it was just a little nickname I was given at one point. My ex actually called me that because I was I'm a very warm person.
Mm-hmm.
Like my body runs hot, and so
Gotcha.
being like a living furnace in bed, basically.
Gotcha. So are you on any other social media platforms besides Instagram that you'd like to share?
Sure. So I am on Instagram, of course, at Hot Potato Man, and then Weakdays Band for that. And then I'm also on Twitch. I believe my Twitch handle is Star Poseidon. So I'm on there too. I don't get on there too much. I'm on TikTok. I can't really tell you what my TikTok name is off the top of my head, because I've only posted maybe once or twice on there. I definitely want to get more active on there. But I mean, if people follow me on Instagram, then I can definitely, I'll cross post and cross promote, so people will be able to find everything through there.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I said in our conversation on the phone, I'm planning to actually do some editing on this video and probably post it to YouTube and some other places. And once I've got it, done and posted, I'll be letting you know, for one thing, and I'll also probably post a message on Instagram, just letting folks know if they want to see it again in other places. That's where to go. So.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. I'll definitely be looking forward to it, and I'll definitely share any kind of clips or anything. I had a good time doing this, so I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing some of the clips later on.
Well, I had an amazing time too, Shawn. I feel like I've made a friend, and
absolutely.
And again, thank you for your time. And
sure. If you don't mind, before we go, I'd like to ask a question of you. What's some of your favorite stuff to play? Because I know you said you've been playing bass for about 4 years now. What kind of songs do you like to learn, and what do you like to play?
Well, I've been actually pretty much being self-taught myself. I've found a lot of tablature channels on YouTube that I've been using to learn songs and that kind of thing. I mean, like you, I kind of I trend toward proggy stuff. I also like Dream Theater. I like Rush, although I can't hang with Getty.
Getty's something else. Yeah.
Yeah, Getty is a whole different level
Hmm.
of just crazy.
I can't imagine
Um,
playing at the level he plays at and singing and like playing keys sometimes at the same time too.
yeah,
It's just wild.
um,
So.
it's the ultimate in multitasking. I
Hmm, for
mean,
sure.
but yeah, I'm also I'm definitely a Steve Harris fan.
Oh yeah.
I've been an Iron Maiden fan since I was in high school, and you know it's
Hmm.
so I like some of that stuff, and
I actually got to see them in concert a couple of years ago. They were doing a tour called the Legacy of the Beast tour, where they were only playing like the classic stuff,
oh
like the
wow,
older songs and stuff. And they put on a killer show. And I know all those guys are in there. I think what 60s, maybe 70s at this point, but still just some of the highest energy that you could expect. I mean, Bruce Dickinson was going around the stage with like two flamethrowers, and he fought like a giant Eddie with like a big British flag and stuff, and it was
oh
just
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I read Bruce Dickinson's autobiography not too long ago, and that's really a good read. He's an interesting guy.
Oh yeah,
He's actually really into fencing.
really?
So like a lot of times when they're on tour, if he can find a fencing gym in the town that they're in, he'll go and do a fencing session with just locals, just to
Wow.
keep his swordplay skills up. So, yeah,
Well, I
that's
guess now him kind of sword fighting with the big flag with Eddie, I guess kind of makes a lot of sense now.
um, my buddy Jeff in chat just set up the irons.
Uh, oh yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, like I said, Shawn, this has been a pleasure, and I won't take up any more of your time. But again, thank you for doing this, and I'll be in touch soon to let you know the progress of things toward getting this all on other platforms. And you said you're going to send me some audio files, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Definitely.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're very
And
welcome.
I guess we'll go ahead and call it a session.
Sounds good. Goodbye, everybody in chat, and it was great talking with you, Matt. I had a great time.
Absolutely. And everybody in chat, thank you, and have a good night.
Night, everybody.